Most people still carry a version of China from 15 years ago. The factory floor, the cheap labor, the knockoff products. That version is gone. In the last decade, China moved from copying technology to filing more patents than any country on Earth. It built the first dark factories, fully automated, no lights, no workers, running 24 hours on AI. It cracked thorium nuclear fuel. It landed on the far side of the moon. And a handful of its founders, most of whom you've never heard of, just built AI companies that made Silicon Valley genuinely nervous. That's not the version you see in Western media because it doesn't fit the narrative. I work with entrepreneurs who operate across Asia every day, and what I'm seeing on the ground is a shift that most people in the West are going to understand about 5 years too late. In this video, I'm going to show you where the real innovation is happening, who's driving it, and where the next wave of business opportunities is being built. Because the people who figured this out early don't just watch the future happen, they profit from it. If you want to understand how business and money really work in Asia, the flows, the structure, the opportunities that don't make the front page, this channel is for you. I've been on the ground here for 26 years running businesses across Asia, and everything I've learned I share here, no filter. So hit subscribe, it will be the best decision you made this year. In 2024, China filed 1.8 million patents. That's close to 50% of every patent filed on Earth that year, 3 times what US filed that year. And the trend is accelerating. Those numbers don't lie. They tell you where a country is putting its best minds and its money. Before the product exists, before the headlines, before anyone's paying attention. For decades, the model was simple. The West invents, China manufactures. Western companies held the IP, capture the margin, and send production east. Chinese factories built the things, took what was left, and everyone went home satisfied. That arrangement suited a lot of people, comfortable enough to stop questioning it. But while that story was being repeated in boardrooms from London to Frankfurt, something else was happening. China wasn't just building factories, it was building the infrastructure of invention. Thousands of state-backed research centers, a national obsession with science and engineering education, and a pipeline of technical talent. To put it simply, China graduates roughly 4 times more engineers and scientists every year than the United States. Europe isn't even in the conversation at that scale. And all of that talent has been pointed at a very specific target, jumping directly to where the world will be in 10 years. The result is visible in the patent data. But more importantly, it's visible in what those patents are actually covering. We're talking about quantum computers that perform calculations no classical machine can match. AI models built for a fraction of what Silicon Valley spends. The world's first thorium nuclear reactor to successfully convert fuel. Robotics that went from prototype to factory floor in 2 years. Biotech breakthrough published in Nature that are rewriting what's possible in cancer treatment. The US remained the leader in foundational research, sure, but in terms of speed, scale, and the ability to take a breakthrough from lab to deployment, something has shifted. The patents tell you where the future is being built before it's visible, and right now they're pointing east. Start with the robots. China's Spring Festival Gala, the most watched television event on Earth, showed 24 humanoid robots doing kung fu, flips, nunchakus, swords, a 7-rotation breakdance move that no robot had ever pulled off. The manufacturer, Unitree Robotics, was taking live orders on JD.com during the broadcast. They sold out. 1 year earlier, those same robots were stumbling on flat surfaces and going viral for the wrong reasons. That's the speed we're talking about, and is not just a spectacle. China produced over 80% of the world's humanoid robots in 2025. A G-Boat shipped more than 5,000 units, and Unitree shipped more than 5,500. Tesla's Optimus, for comparison, delivered around 150. The reason is simple. China controls the supply chain for every component that goes into a robot. Sensors, actuators, batteries, chips. When you own the supply chain, you own the cost curve. On AI, the story got even more uncomfortable for Silicon Valley. DeepSeek matched GPT-4 level performance at a fraction of the cost. Then came Seedance 2.0 last February, a video generation model that produces cinematic quality footage with synchronized audio from a simple text prompt. Within days of its release, Disney, Paramount, and the major Hollywood studios send cease and desist letters. The AI model triggers emergency responses from the entire US entertainment industry. Then there's quantum computing. China Zhu Chongzhi processor completed a calculation 1 million times faster than Google-based quantum chip. To put that in human terms, the same calculation will take the world's most powerful classical supercomputer longer than the age of the universe. Not years, longer than the universe has existed. That's not a marginal improvement on existing technology. That's a different category of machine. In medicine, a Chinese research team converted a patient's own fat cells into insulin-producing cells and transplanted them. In 75 days, she no longer needed insulin injection. China effectively reversed type 1 diabetes in a single invention. None of this came from imitating a Western blueprint. These are genuine first, and they happen in the last 18 months. I could go on and on with nuclear energy, satellites, but you got the picture. I already know what you're gonna say. Why should any of this matter to you personally? Well, because every one of these shifts create a supply chain, and every supply chain creates opportunities for entrepreneurs who are paying attention. Take robotics. China now produces 80% of the world's humanoid robots. Those robots need actuators, sensors, batteries, precision motors, LiDAR systems. The companies building those components are mostly in Shenzhen, in Hangzhou, in Suzhou, and most of them are actively looking for international distribution partners, resellers, integration specialists. The Western market for industrial robotics is growing at double digits annually, and the dominant manufacturers are Chinese. If you're in manufacturing, logistics, warehousing, agriculture, the question isn't whether robots are coming to your industry. It's whether you're going to be the person who introduced them or the person who gets replaced by someone who did. The same logic applies to AI. Alibaba's Qwen, DeepSeek, Minimax, those are tools that 6 months ago would have cost a small company hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to access. Today, they're available to anyone with an internet connection with a cost structure that their Western competitors, still paying for closed API access, simply can't match. And then there's the market itself. China's middle class is roughly 400 million people, larger than the entire population of the United States. These are consumers who have already leapfrogged credit cards to mobile payments, who adopted EVs years before Europe, who are now the fastest adopting market for humanoid robots, AI assistants, and biotech products. Getting into that market is genuinely hard, but being positioned in Asia, in Hong Kong, in Singapore, to understand it, access it, and serve companies moving in and out of it is a different conversation entirely. At Statrys, we work with entrepreneurs making exactly that move every day, setting up in Hong Kong or Singapore to access this ecosystem. And the ones who get there first consistently tell us the same thing. They wish they'd done it sooner. If you want to know more about our services, click on the link below. Take Wang Xingxing, a man that you have probably never heard of. He built his first robot dog in his university dormitory. No venture capital, no industry connection, no previous experience in robotics. What he had was proximity to the supply chain, a manufacturing ecosystem that let him iterate fast, and a domestic market that was willing to buy early. Today, Unitree ships to 50 countries. Its robots sell for under $5,000, and Wang Xingxing is worth over $2 billion at 35. He didn't invent a new category of technology. He understood where the infrastructure was being built, and he built on top of it faster than anyone else. That window is still open, not forever. These markets move fast, and the early position gets taken quickly. But right now, for entrepreneurs who are willing to understand what's actually happening in Asia, instead of relying on a 15-year-old mental model, the opportunity is real. It's not an exception. Is a pattern. Yan Junjie founded Minimax at 32. The Western tech press called him a fraud. Too young, no track record, building in a space dominated by US giants. He ignored it. Today, Minimax is valued at over $5 billion. Its multimodal AI models compete with the best in the world, and Yan Junjie is one of the wealthiest people in Chinese tech under 40. Different person, same story. Zhang Jianzhong spent 14 years at NVIDIA as their top executive in China, watched the export controls come in, and immediately founded More Threads, a Chinese GPU company. These founders share almost nothing in terms of background or sector. What they share is timing and geography. They were inside the ecosystem when the infrastructure was being built. They saw the supply chain, the talent, the capital, and the state backing align around specific sectors, and they moved. The window that made them billionaires is the same window that's open right now for international entrepreneurs who understand what's happening. That's what proximity to Asia actually gives you. Not just cheaper manufacturing, the ability to see what's coming before it arrives everywhere else. At this point, you're probably asking yourself the same question everyone asks. How? How does a country go from robots that stumble to robots doing kung fu in 12 months? How does it reverse diabetes, crack a 56-year-old nuclear problem, and builds an AI model that panics Hollywood, all inside the same 18 months? The answer isn't genius, it's architecture. China made a decision roughly a decade ago to treat technology leadership as a matter of national survival, not a market opportunity, not a policy priority, an existential objective. That decision produced a specific set of conditions that don't exist anywhere else. China invests 2.6% of its GDP in research and development, matching the United States and surpassing the European Union, Japan, and South Korea combined. But the more important difference isn't the total, it's the direction. In Europe and the US, R&D spending follows market signals, shareholders' expectation, quarterly earnings. In China, a significant portion is pointed at specific targets on a specific timeline. The Made in China 2025 roadmap identified 10 sectors: semiconductors, robotics, AI, aerospace, clean energy, and mobilized state capital, university research, and private enterprise around those sectors simultaneously. Europe spent the same decade producing consultation documents about its digital transition. And there's something harder to quantify: a culture of deployment, an institutional tolerance for moving fast and fixing problems in production rather than in the lab. State-directed industrial policy has a poor track record in most of the world. China's model produces waste, failed projects, and entire sectors that burn capital without result. But in the specific domains it has targeted, the results are no longer theoretical. They're on stage doing kung fu. Shifts like this one, they don't announce themselves. Nobody sends you a memo when the rules of the game change. You just look up one day and you realize that the people who understood what was happening 5 years ago are the ones setting the agenda now, and everyone else is catching up. China's transformation from the world's factory floor to one of its leading innovation engines didn't happen overnight. It happened in plain sight, while most of the Western business world was looking somewhere else. The question now is what you do with that information. Whether you file it under interesting and move on, or whether you start asking what it means for your industry, your supply chain, your market, your next move. If you've been watching China from a distance and wondering when the right moment to pay closer attention is, you're probably already late, but not too late. I've spent 26 years watching this shift happen before they made the news. That's why I share on this channel. If it's useful to you, subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious where you're at with this. Thank you for watching. I'll see you around.